In his 50s? In his 50s? Holy shit, this guy has better longevity than LeBron, dude. Hey, today we will be reacting to 8 things you probably didn't know about NASCAR. I'm about to learn some shit, right? I'm about to learn some new shit. I don't know anything about NASCAR pretty much. I know it's just cars driving around on a track. I don't know. That's pretty much all the information I have about the whole sport. So, without further ado, let's learn some shit. Alright, let's learn. Let's go. I'm ready.
Over time, I've noticed that a good chunk of my subscribers have either never watched a NASCAR race or have just started getting into
That's literally me. Never ever watched a NASCAR race.
the sport. And with the quarantine finally being partially lifted this week, and NASCAR being the first American sport to resume competition, albeit with no fans in attendance, there's going to be an influx of new viewers checking into NASCAR for the first time. So I thought it might be a good idea to explain what exactly the hell is going on here for newcomers. NASCAR is actually a lot like baseball or golf. The more you know about it, the more interesting it becomes. But the less you know about it, the more ridiculous it seems. So with information at a premium, here are 8 things that you probably didn't know about NASCAR.
Definitely don't know
NASCAR
this.
was started by state and federal criminals. Although NASCAR's founder Bill
God damn. Started by criminals? By criminals? Okay. This shit like Australia, right?
Runner himself. NASCAR's early rosters from the late 40s and early 50s were filled with convicts and guys who just never got caught. Surprising young men throughout the South souped up their hot rods so they could outrun the cops when they were on one of their nightly runs. Eventually, local legends grew, and people wanted to know which of their local bootleggers was the best driver. And so, tracks and competitions were organized, and at some point, somebody had the bright idea to start selling tickets to these get-togethers. Stock car racing was born. Bill France, a Daytona Beach resident and businessman, as well as a former race car driver himself, saw the growing interest and established the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing.
There's always one guy. There's like, these people who start these things are geniuses, dude.
NASCAR, and the rest was history. While many NASCAR stars had their fair share of run-ins with the law, there was none more famous than the last American hero himself, Junior Johnson.
He looks like the most American man ever.
A 50-time winner in NASCAR's Top Series, Junior Johnson was arrested by federal revenuers in 1956. But in true bootlegger fashion, if you ever brought this up to Junior while he was still alive, he'd be quick to remind you that he never got caught behind the wheel while he was making one of his runs. Junior gained a reputation on the track for being a tough-as-nails driver and an innovative mechanic. So innovative, in fact, that he is widely regarded as one of the most cheatingest figures in all of NASCAR. And that gets me to number 2 on this list. Cheating is not only tolerated by NASCAR fans, but is actually celebrated.
What? I mean, okay. What kind of cheating?
Comes as a shocker and is at odds with every other sport in existence. But hear me out. Although the sanctioning body of NASCAR is very stringent with its rules, NASCAR fans have always turned a blind eye to cheaters in the sport and actually sing their praises amongst themselves. Teams are allowed to either build their own cars or purchase them from other teams. And even though NASCAR has strict specifications that those cars have to adhere to, there's always a little wiggle room left to exploit. There's an old saying in NASCAR, if you ain't cheating, then you ain't winning.
So what kind of cheating, right? I want to...
Everybody does it, although they're usually bending the rules or just breaking a rule before it's on the books. Junior Johnson was so prolific in the art of rule dodging that he actually had one of his creations put into the NASCAR Hall of Fame, the Yellow Banana. A 66 Ford Galaxy that was one of the most disgustingly illegal cars in the history of the sport, and got its name due to its shape and its yellow paint job. But if there was ever a mechanic who could best Junior Johnson and...
Like, how is it illegal? Like, are the cars made so they run faster? Or how? Like,
in the dark arts of stock car cheating, it was Smokey Yunick. With a silly name but a penchant for disregarding the rules at every turn, NASCAR fans became enamored with Smokey's antics. He did anything to get a leg up over the competition.
Of
making
course.
his engines too big, mounting the bodies too far forward on the frame, increasing the size of the fuel tank, and when officials became wary of that, they mandated the size of the fuel tank to 20 gallons. But Smokey then just made the fuel line wrap around the car, which squeezed an extra gallon or 2 out of the limit set in place. And in one famous example, Smokey had his fuel tank seized by NASCAR tech inspectors. saying that it was too large and he had a total of 10 infractions that needed to be changed.
Okay.
They pulled the fuel tank out of the car as extra punishment, thinking that Smokey would have to push the car back to the garage. But instead, Smokey just jumped in the car, cranked it up, still with no fuel tank in it, and drove it back to his crew while shouting at the officials, "Make that 11 things." True to his name.
What a legend, dude. What a legend. Holy shit,
Smokey
dude.
Fogged up the lines
This guy is great. This guy is great.
This proud tradition of rule bending is still alive in NASCAR. As recently as 2018, during the Flexgate scandal, Stewart-Haas racing cars have manipulated the bracing on the rear window to give way at high speeds to direct more airflow towards the spoiler. An exploit famously found out by NASCAR Reddit.
That's smart. That's smart. Hey, yo, Reddit, why you snitching, bro? Why you snitching, Reddit?
As there was no rule in place to break at the time, NASCAR let the wins by Stewart-Haas stand. The Stewart-Haas team of cars beat the law at the time, but that actually leads to the question, wait, there are teams in NASCAR? Well, yeah, number 3. NASCAR is a team sport. One team owner might expand his stable from 1 car to include 2, 3, or even 4 cars. The maximum
and then they work together,
right?
Then they work together.
Different drivers with different crew chiefs who prepare the cars.
Would make sense.
These teams share information and discoveries, but still prepare their cars independently according to the preferences of the drivers. Okay. Sometimes this leads to friendly and not so friendly competition in-house, which may or may not have beneficial effects on the team.
So it depends.
It's all dependent on the chemistry of the people involved.
All right.
So the owner of the entire operation has to manage his personnel accordingly. Just as important as the team of mechanics are the pit crew members, who service the car during the actual race. These fearless men plucked from the rosters of professional and collegiate athletic programs,
this thing is
braved
crazy.
the chaos of pit road and changed tires and put new fuel in the car.
In Formula
all while
1,
making adjustments
in this
and
sport,
repairs,
in any,
dozens of other cars and teams are all
they
doing
do it
the
this
same
in
thing
seconds.
on pit lane. Under ideal conditions, a NASCAR pit crew can change 4 tires, top off fuel, and make adjustments to the car in less than 14 seconds.
Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
Yes, sometimes accidents do occur and they get
Oh, no, what the fuck?
Thanks to safety regulations and
what the fuck? Don't show that. Don't worry, folks. He's fine. The sole of his shoe saved his foot from being crushed. Lucky bastard. Dude, that actually looked so bad.
Other drivers
Holy
out there on
shit.
pit lane. Those incidents are few and far between. But what about the guys behind the wheel piloting the race car itself?
What about
that
the
gets
driver?
us to number 4. Yes, the drivers are athletes.
Of
It
course.
takes a special type of
course.
crazy to hop into a metal coffin wearing a fireproof suit and sling a car around at 200 miles an hour. But it also takes an insane amount of physical fitness as well.
All right.
Temperatures inside the car can reach as high as 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And
Google break, boys. Google break. I have to check on my phone. Now I can react to that shit. 60 degrees Celsius? What the fuck, man? That's like a sauna. An actual fucking sauna.
In this oven, you have to think critically about your next move and have cat-like reflexes, all while communicating to your crew about how your car is holding up via radio. Drivers nowadays take trips to the sauna, have a strict fitness regimen,
Yeah, the sauna.
and diet they have to adhere to in order to stay at peak
Finnish
performance.
shit, eh?
The man
Finnish
we can thank
shit.
for this breakthrough is Mark Martin. A man often derided as undersized during his early career, the 5'6" Arkansas native took up weightlifting and high-level fitness programs to make up for it, and found out that the workouts actually made him better equipped to handle the demands of NASCAR racing. And soon after that, nearly everyone followed suit. Even in his 50s and still winning races, Mark was still rocking an 8-pack.
In his 50s? In his 50s? Holy shit, this guy has better longevity than LeBron, dude.
Wait, Mark Martin was still winning races in his 50s? Yep, that gets us to number 5 on the list. NASCAR drivers can have incredibly long careers.
Well, indeed.
The average successful NASCAR driver will make his first starts in his early 20s, and will retire in his mid to late 40s. Some drivers even go beyond this. In 1992, Harry Gant set the record that still stands today as the oldest driver to ever win a NASCAR race at 52 years old.
52
Mark Martin
years
got close
old.
in 2009 at age 50,
Holy
but no driver has challenged the throne since.
Oh my
Joey
god,
Logano
okay.
from Connecticut will turn 30 this year. His teammate Ryan Blaney is 26 and hails from Ohio. And one of the best in the business right now, Kevin Harvick from Bakersfield, California, is 44 and has just signed a multi-year contract extension.
Oh my god,
Hey,
that
maybe he'll be
hit
the one to
looked
take Hanson Harry
kinda
Grant's crown.
painful.
Okay, so we've covered the who, the what, and the why of NASCAR. But as you sit down to watch the race, what should you be keeping your eye on? Yes, there's daring, death-defying moves and beating and banging action happening every so often.
I mean, you can keep your attention on anything that the speed keeps you like focused, right?
What keeps NASCAR crazies such as myself
like,
glued to the TV
what the
for
fuck
the
is
entire
this?
duration of the race?
Sparks
6,
flying everywhere.
It's all about strategy. Most NASCAR races are between 4
so it's like
and 500
chess,
miles long.
like chess, man.
And as you probably guessed, you have to stop
right.
for tires and fuel along the way.
Of course.
But when do you do it? Your tires will wear out faster the harder you push them. So do you just take it easy and make up time in the long run? Or do you
because
push
I've
it now
watched
and end up
F1,
losing
so
time
kind of
as
like
the race goes
F1
on?
strategies.
You need to make it to the front in order to win, but when and how you do this matters in the grand scheme of things. Helping the driver and the crew work this out and masterminding the whole plan is the crew chief. He oversees the whole operation and decides what adjustments to make to the car according to the driver's inputs over the radio. He also makes suggestions to the driver on how hard to push the envelope. Some drivers like their crew chief to handle the mental heavy lifting. Others prefer to run at their own pace and just let the crew chief worry about adjustments. Either way, pairing the right drivers with the right crew chief
depends on the driver, right?
Ending up
It
in
makes
victory
sense.
lane at the end of the day. But there's one other guy in this conversation that we haven't talked about yet. The spotter. That gets
spotter, like in like weightlifting.
Number 7. Drivers can't actually
spotter?
see that much inside of their cars. Due to safety regulations, drivers are pretty much bolted into their seats and their head movement is very limited. So to help with this, drivers have spotters that communicate with them constantly, telling them where the other cars are out on the track, if there's a wreck up ahead, or what the leader is up to. On those crazy double file restarts, the information spotters provide is understandably extremely important.
What the hell? That is actually very interesting in my opinion. Having somebody telling you what is happening because they can't see in the cars that are going, 200 miles per hour? They can't see in them? Motherfucker, they can't see? What do you mean, man? Holy shit.
In the early days before radio communications were widely available, lots of fatalities and injuries were caused simply because drivers didn't know what was happening up ahead.
My God.
As you probably expected, anytime a car is on the track, it is required by rule that the driver has a spotter up on the spotter stand to give him an extra set of eyes in the sky. Veteran drivers usually only have essential communications with their spotter and crew chief, as they can almost read each other's minds. However, newer drivers typically have a lot more radio traffic, as the spotter kind of doubles as a cheerleader and guide. And here's the coolest part about all this radio chatter. You can actually listen in. Using various apps on NASCAR.com or by renting a scanner at the track itself, you can pick a driver and listen in on all the back and forth action for yourself. And yes, sometimes the teams listen in on each other to see what kind of strategies they're cooking up. So don't be surprised if they start talking in code. But
isn't this shit like also cheating? Listening to the other team's radio comms? The whole NASCAR is like cheating incarnate.
These are grown men in a high-stress environment. Sometimes they say things that aren't exactly PG rated. So think twice about having your kids join in. Some tracks, though, are so massive that they require multiple spotters in different locations.
Oh my, that wreckage looks so cool.
And that gets us finally to number 8.
Honestly.
NASCAR goes to a lot of very different racetracks, and yes, we even make a few right-hand turns. Every driver in the series has to have a mastery of different disciplines in racing. Tracks come in all shapes and sizes, and some of the lower divisions, NASCAR's minor leagues, even race on dirt. These circuits dot the U.S. landscape, from major markets like Atlanta and Las Vegas, to small towns tucked away in the southeast like Bristol and Martinsville, and everywhere in between.
I don't know why, but driving on dirt, watching this looks like the real shit, man. I don't know what it is, but I like this the most. I don't know. Driving on dirt, there's something about it. I don't know. God. I'm weird. I know.
The fastest driver starts at the front, also known as the pole position. Well, that about wraps it all up. 8 things you might not have known about NASCAR.
That pretty much wraps it up for us too. I did not know a single one of those things beforehand. So this was very informative for me. And I have to say that the craziest thing, I think, was that cheating is encouraged and it was started by criminals. Those things kind of go hand in hand, right? But that's kind of crazy. But yeah, that's the video. If you like this kind of content, you can leave recommendations down below what you want to see me react to next. Also consider subscribing and leaving a like. I would appreciate it a lot. As always, have a fantastic day.